LHS Live, every Wednesday morning from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Where you'll hear from new guests every week on relevant topics. Community-based, student-driven. And now, your host, Joe Roberts.
All right, Panther family, welcome to another edition of LHS Live. I'm Joe Roberts, and as always, I'm joined by a new and special guest. How special they are depends on what they say. Today, Mr. Bill Buchannan. Woohoo! Woo-hoo. Hey, it's okay if you want to give him a shout. There we go. Yeah.
I don't know who I am.
Well, that's all right. When I go to Mount Rushmore, I knew who everyone was on the side of the granite mountain. Mm-hmm. You're on the Mount Rushmore of Liberty, right?
Absolutely.
Right up there with. Okay, well, maybe I don't know anyone else that's on the Mount Rushmore of Liberty.
Abe.
Hey, there, Abe. Well,
George.
Do we have an Abe and George in Liberty? Okay, so you did this for what? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50.
You don't have that many
I don't have that many fingers. So you did this for quite a number of years, and you always told me that you had a face for radio, and now here we are on TV.
Oh my goodness. Now what do I do?
I don't know. You're not gonna freak out on me, are you?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
You join us. You are the longtime owner, host, creator of KSHN Radio. Tell us about KSHN and why did that matter for the city of Liberty?
Okay, well, thank you very much, first of all, for asking me to be here. And for those of you who are not aware of it, very few people in the city of Liberty, Texas, let's take it at a broader scale, in the whole South Liberty County, certainly the Liberty Independent School District, really know the full picture of your host here today. That's Joe Roberts. And Joe does everything.
So you're trying to turn it around on me.
Yeah, well, it's fun to do that. But it really is. I mean, this guy is involved in so many things in our community. And it's not just school events. Thank heavens he's involved. Most of his activities are going to that, but he coaches. He does all kinds of things. And 3 years ago, I guess it's a little more longer ago than that, we asked him if he would help us with the football broadcast. And by golly, he did and has been involved in that and softball and other things. So he's taken to a level that I never took it because you went with big pictures on the screen.
Well, you can only go as far
fully understand that, but
as the giants that you stand on the shoulders of, right? You're the giant, right?
Yeah, hold that thought. And I'm working on the waistline now, but we'll have to take this one step.
Well, not giant this way. I'm working on that. You're giant this way.
The answer to your question is I'm not exactly sure where to begin that story, but I wanted to get into ownership.
Okay.
I had a minority ownership in the town of Lockhart, Texas. Some may know where that is, up near Austin. And I went to I had a minority ownership, which meant somebody else owned the majority, but I was the general manager and had a minority ownership, and that was part of my dream. But I had really a carefully planned dream, and went all the way back to when I was hired at my first job in radio in Richmond, Kentucky. I wanted to be a manager. Then I wanted to be an owner. And so in Lockhart, I asked my partners if I could buy them out. Great guys, wonderful people. And he said, no, they really preferred to hold on to their majority ownership. And we had a buy-sell agreement. And so I asked them, well, then will you sell to me? And I'm sorry, can I buy, can you buy me out? And they said they would. And I seemed kind of excited about that possibility. Not sure exactly what that meant, but nevertheless. So we worked out a deal. I took the down payment, the amount of money that they paid me for my share, and used it as a down payment to buy KPXE. KPXE was here in Liberty, Texas. It was now there's several things that are bad about radio stations. Low power, that's bad. Having to have a directional signal, I'll not go into an explanation there, but that's bad. And good equipment, didn't have any. I mean, this was everything you could think about that was bad about a radio station. This had it, but it had the magic word. It was cheap. And so I was able to buy it and get majority ownership. The truth is I didn't get it all. I had enough money to make the down payment. I didn't have enough money then to operate it for a while we tried to get it going. And so my older brother, John, who's never, ever been on radio, never been seen, our agreement was, I'll pay him if he'll stay away from the radio station. And I paid him well, and he did his job well. He never was around the radio station. But anyway, he still provided me that money I needed to operate the radio station for a little while we got it going. So anyway, we moved about that with KPXE. And listen, folks, that radio station didn't get too far out of Liberty, Texas. You could hear it in Dayton, Texas. If you went out and got it set in your car and turned on your car radio, you could hear it in Dayton and some other places. But it was not a strong signal at all. The reason was, not only was it a low power, 250 watts is as low as that license. That's what this one was. But also it had it also had very bad equipment. The antenna system was terrible. So anyway, all these bad things are going, and I'm a radio station owner.
See, you're the owner. See, what I heard from there is you pay people to stay away from the radio station. Had I known
Just
that
one.
3 or 4 years ago, I would have asked. I would never have come back if I could have named my price.
Just one.
Okay.
Just one. Let's get that clear. I was begging everybody else to come, but at any rate, so we did that for several years. It's interesting to know, and most of the people in this room, including yourself, I don't fully appreciate. AM radio was everything in those days, which those days were 1977 when I got here, and had been for decades.
We were all babies in heaven in 1977.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so anyway, I was so I had to figure out, but now the worm had turned, if you will. The evolution of FM was on its way. I'll give you a really good example of it. This is where you kill time on radio. In Houston, Texas, the top 10 ranked radio stations in Houston were all AM radio stations. Every one of them was an AM radio station. Big powerhouses like KTRH, which is still here, and a lot of other stations. That was the top 10 did not have a single FM station, not one. There were a few FM stations in Houston, but they were what we used to call elevator radio. That's the music you heard on the elevator when you got on the big building. And it was just no entertainment.
Well, I think the real question, as you're talking about that, is you came from Kentucky. Why Liberty? How did you find Liberty on the map?
Well, I was in Texas several years before I came to Liberty.
Okay, so Lockhart, and then
I applied for a job in Georgetown, Texas, as general manager. And long story short, I got it, and I came down here with Janet, Kelly, and Tony. And Kelly was newborn at the time, about a year and a half old, I guess. At any rate, but I came down here to be the station manager there. Owned nothing on it. I had no ownership at all, just a hired gun. And came down here. Was there for 5 years. Then I went to Lockhart for 3.5 years with part ownership because my boss in Georgetown, who owned the newspaper, would not sell any of it. He had told me that. He said, "Now don't get any ideas. You're not buying this station. When I die, my daughter gets this radio station." I said, "I understood." And so I came to him and asked him, "Have you changed your mind after 5 years? We enjoyed some pretty good years." And he said, "Nope, it's going to my daughter, and it's getting closer to the time to turn it over to her." So at any rate, I said, "Well, then," I said, "I hope you don't mind. I'm going to try to start looking for a station I could buy." That's what took me to Lockhart and a minority ownership. 3.5 years there. I wanted so badly to get my own operation where I really was in the driver's seat. And so I was able to work out a deal. All these have long stories with them that I won't bore you with.
So
that's how I ended up coming to Georgetown.
They've been chasing you all over, right?
Yeah, that was it. Everybody wanted me so badly they chased me all over. That's really what happened. Hold that thought. And at any rate, but I came to Liberty actually on January 8th, 1977 is when I got here. And like I said, not a single FM radio station was on the charts, if you will. And so, but I knew it was changing. First of all, FM sounds a lot better. It has all kinds of limitations, and very few of them were licensed. And so we got but now something really huge happened. The Federal Communications Commission, which has everything in the world to do with radio stations, without FCC approval, what you're doing is illegal. And so FCC is all powerful. They had, for a long, long time, not licensed any FM station because they perceived it one way and broadcasters perceived it a whole other way. Long story short, big fight, and all this stuff happened. And finally, FCC was at a meeting one time, actually it was here in Texas, at a meeting, said, and we've been telling them this for a long time, longer than I've been in Texas, said, we've come up with an idea that maybe our way of determining what FM's all about, maybe that we've come up with an idea, we think, and then read back to us what we've been begging for years. And we just, smart enough, we didn't say, well, you idiots, that's what we're telling you. Nobody said that. Thank heavens nobody said, because the room was full of broadcasters, and all of them were relatively smart broadcasters, and with possible exception of me. And but anyway, they said, we think we got a great new idea, and we just kept our mouth shut and let them have the idea. And the 80-90 rule was born. 80-90 means nothing except that's just rule number of the book. But every broadcaster knows about the 80-90 rule, because it's when they open the door to FM radio stations, and they just went everywhere. I mean, I'm not talking about hundreds, thousands of FM stations all across America. It sounded better. It did a whole lot of things better. But most importantly, it allowed people to apply for radio stations. Before, couldn't find an AM. There weren't any FM stations under the rules available, and all this. So now the door's open, and we got the frequency, and we applied. It took them 5 years to decide that we were who we wanted. It took us 4 months to put it on the air. We had a whole lot more work to do than they did.
So you've been here 5 decades, and when you got here, I didn't say that. I didn't say it like that.
Did you?
But when you got here, there was no FM.
Right.
You had to put the FM in.
Mm-hmm.
You had not much power. So let's talk about how you got the power, because before you guys closed the door in your retirement phase of your life, you could pick up KSHN from the other side of Beaumont all the way, I think, to the other side of Houston, right?
I always said to downtown, the medical center in Houston.
Okay, medical center.
The reason I say that is because when you get on out to the far side, you can pick it up, but it's not reliable. To downtown Houston, we had a good solid signal. So you are right. We could be heard over that, but we always say to the medical center.
So how did you go from no power, so we could barely get across the river, to being really the most powerful signaled radio station in all of Southeast Texas?
Well, first of all, we're not.
Well,
there's a lot of radio stations that got 100,000 watts of power. We had legally 26,500 watts of power, but we did some real neat things with our antenna system, because I had a guy smarter than me building it. Okay.
Well, you say that, though, but I know many people commented on they would pick up KSHN, and that would take them from Beaumont to Houston.
And that was our heart of our signal. So if you went a lot of places, you might not get us, but that was the perfect part of our signal. It was designed that way. Our engineer in Washington, D.C., actually Gaithersburg, Maryland, said, here's the way I'm maximum amount of audience. And he designed that antenna system so it would cover a lot bigger area than probably its power would normally have allowed.
Okay.
Real sharp guy.
All right, gang, you're watching LHS Live. I'm Joe Roberts. I'm here with Bill Buchanan. We're about halfway through this thing. And Bill, man, I probably could do episodes with you. The knowledge that you have that you've forgotten is probably better than I'll ever have.
I resent that.
Well, as long as you don't resemble it, maybe. So we've talked about how you got here, but you're more than just a radio man. There's so many things that you're involved with. I always say stuff to you in jest, but really it's truth. You are involved in a bunch of things in the community.
So are you.
Well, I am, but this is about you, Bill. It's not about me today. You've retired, and you haven't moved into the twilight of your life. You're still, maybe, I don't want to predict how many more decades you have inside of you, but
I can hardly wait to see how this comes out.
What are you doing now to fill up your time?
Well, that's really interesting, because first of all, when I sold the radio station, there's a real long story about it, and I promise you I'm not going to get into that. There's a real long story. I had no intention of selling KSHN. I said it 100 times, probably several times to you. They'll come in someday and find me dead on the floor. I'm going to die at the switch. This is my life. I love what I do. I've never got up in the morning and not wanted to go to the radio station. Never once. And I've been in it 56, 57, 58 years now. Yeah, that's about right, 57, 58 years. And I've been in broadcasting. I've never not wanted to go to work. And I'm really proud of that. Not because I'm good, because what I was doing was the right thing to do for Bill Buchanan.
Well, we're not paying you to be here today, just so you know that.
But you,
If you want to leave right now, I guess I
that's
understand.
one way of getting rid of me, isn't it? Okay, what was the question?
I can't even remember now. So that's what I get for being a smart aleck. All right, so you're doing stuff afterwards.
Now, what am I doing now?
Yeah,
now?
right.
Tiffany York was my assistant manager at the radio station. Tiffany, and then her also life has also taken a lot of turns. But Tiffany York really did a good job for me for 28 years, pretty close to 30 actually. I say 28, she said 28 and 30. I said, and then I get real quiet because
You don't speak against. And she may be watching right now.
She had a most interesting hobby, and that was fixing furniture, and she was really good at it. And when she realized she didn't have a radio station anymore, and I in fact did sell a station, and that's a story into itself, an episode into itself.
Right.
She decided she was going to take that hobby and make a business out of it, and she has started the coolest furniture store. And she said, "How do you get there from broadcasting?" It was a hobby. It was something she enjoyed doing, and now she turned it around and made it a business. And she's open for business. If everybody knows where Ann's Seafood is, a very popular local restaurant. It's a long building, has 3 businesses in it. She's in one section, Ann is, and Tiffany's in another, but in the same building. And she has a thing called T-Way Refurbished Furniture.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
And it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
She's got a great inventory, and I wish people could go by and see her and just take a tour. Don't go in there with a checkbook. Don't go in there with your money in your pocket. Just go in there to see what she's got.
Right.
And I think you'll be pretty excited.
You may be the Mattress Mac of Liberty. I don't know. Maybe that could be you.
Well, Jim's a longtime friend.
Well, I believe that.
I think that is a.
He's an awesome man.
Oh man, is he ever?
So you're just kind of going and doing.
Well, I didn't sell the building. When I sold the radio station, I didn't sell the building. And so now I had to figure out what I was going to do with the building. And so I decided I would sell it to the county, and they will be the owner of it actually in early October, so just a few days away. And I've been busy getting everything out of there. What's funny about that, I'm not good at that. Every time I open a file, I say, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about this for 10 years. And I'll start reading the whole file, which was not what I was in there to do. And so, but at any rate, I've had a wonderful time packing everything, getting it ready. And now I got to get out of the way because they want the building in October, and the check says October, so I guess I better get out of the way.
All right, let's rewind the clock for just a little bit. We've got about 10 minutes or so left. Not many people may know this, but in a previous life, you were a basketball official, right?
Yeah, for a long time.
For a long time. You called pretty high-level basketball, college, high-level high school, and you said you were close to being in the pros.
Well, actually, the first exhibition season of the first exhibition season, the ABA had, the American Basketball Association had. I was in the preseason calling games, and they scored all the officials, and I was among all the officials who were trying out for a permanent job. I was scored 9th, so I was going to get the job. And incidentally, the scoring was done by the coaches and owners of all the other teams rather. And I said, I got to make up my mind. They'd asked me, now Buchanan, do you want to be a referee? If we're going to put you through this thing in this exhibition season, we need to know you're going to be with us. To which I said, I did. Liar.
Yeah, liar.
And I said, I've got to make up my mind what I want to do. And what I want to do with my life was broadcasting. And so when they told me that I was going to be one of the, I think it was 32 officials that were selected to do all the officiating in the first season, that may not be right. But anyway, I said, I got to talk to you.
So who's the most famous basketball player you ever called a foul on? That's what I want to know.
You don't even know him.
Who
Louis
knows?
Dampier was a great.
Well, I know who that is.
Okay, do you?
Well, I don't know him because he's dead now, but
I didn't even know that. Thank you for
or
breaking my heart.
I say that. Maybe he's not.
He
I need to
have some
fact
years
check
on
myself
him.
on that one. But
He
yeah,
would have some years on himself if he was still alive. But anyway, he played for the University of Kentucky and was in the first season of the ABA. and there was a bunch of other guys. There's a lot of guys who were in that first season that went on to the NBA when the two merged. That I don't even remember who they were, but I'll say, oh, he was in the ABA. And that's how I
Did they have the Spurs on that first season of the ABA? Were they a thing yet?
I stayed in the eastern part of the United States.
Okay, so you wouldn't even have known that.
I wouldn't have even known it, but they very well likely did.
Okay.
But that way we didn't have to do so much traveling during the exhibition season, because when the real season came along, we're going to do a lot of traveling.
Because I was going to ask you about the Iceman, George Gervin. I didn't know if you ever got to call any of his games or not.
I did not, but I sure know the man by his reputation. Quite special.
So basketball, and I love basketball. We've had some conversations about soccer and how basketball and soccer are pretty similar. So I'm always up for talking basketball. All right, so let's jump back forward again. You are back forward. I don't know.
I got it.
You know how we have this little dialogue.
Can I get a drink of water?
Absolutely, drink away. Well, drink water. This is a school program, okay?
Got it. You bet.
So you are still, I know you've done some community work throughout your time here in Liberty. What are some of the community projects that you're involved with right now?
Well, now very few. I'm on the LISD Education Trust. I'm on their board of directors, which doesn't mean that I do a lot, but I get to vote on what is done.
Okay.
And then I'm on a couple of other boards of directors and that type of thing, but not a whole lot of stuff now. There was one time my wife called my attention to this. There was one time that I was on 17 boards and commissions across the nation, mostly in Texas, by far mostly in Texas. It sounds impressive to say across the nation. And
well, Texas is a big part of the nation, so that works.
It was at one time, but most of what I've been involved in is broadcasting organization. Texas Association of Broadcasters is by heart. They're just fantastic, and they're the largest state association in America. The only thing that's bigger than them of that type is the National Association of Broadcasters. TAB is phenomenal, and I got to serve on their board of directors for 22 years, and I'm proud to say nobody else has served on it that long, which meant I had too much free time, I guess. But nevertheless, I was an officer for a while, and I just really love the TAB. A man by the name of Oscar Rodriguez is the president and general manager of the Texas Association of Broadcasters. He's a miracle worker. He can get anything done when it comes to broadcasting, and he's been a great representative for us.
All right, we've got about 5 minutes or so left, and I want to ask you a couple of final questions, and this pertains to sports.
I want to tell you my life story.
Whoa. Oh, okay. See, Dampier. Wait, which one? My producer's talking to me in my ear, so we're using technology.
Yes.
Louis Dampier.
And he said what?
He said he's alive and well. See, I tried to kill someone, and I couldn't do it. I was unsuccessful.
I told you I didn't know. I thank you for telling me, because I didn't know he was dead.
See,
and he wasn't.
He wasn't. He's alive and well, and hopefully he doesn't watch this broadcast and send me a strongly worded letter. That's why we're fact checked all the time.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Glad Louis still around.
So, broadcasting, you had the radio station, but really, I think a lot of people knew you not just for the radio station, but for your Friday night broadcast as the voice of the Liberty Panthers, and you called play-by-play for the Panther football team for 40 years?
42.
42 years? That's a long time to be a voice for someone.
And a couple times I even got it right.
Well, let's not get carried away with once or twice. So how did that? And if we can wrap this up and I don't know if you have the ability to wrap things up in a couple of minutes. That's why Tiffany was so important, right?
Well, I never got off my program that I did. 14,000 programs I did called the Party Line program. I never got off of it once on time.
Well,
there weren't those kinds of ugly restrictions that you TV guys have.
Well, the restriction for me is the bell is going to be sounding, and then all these wonderful audience members are, as much as they love me, when the bell rings, they're going to be out of here like a shot. So that's.
Can we take a vote on that last part?
Let's not vote on that. Okay, so How did you become the voice of the Panthers?
I owned a radio station.
Well, I know that, but
I said, I'm the play-by-play dude.
okay, so you just went up to the superintendent.
Oh, no. I understand the question now. But we had been doing all the games recorded
Okay.
because our AM radio station was also daytime. I didn't mention that a while ago, but it's a daytime only station. So we did not have the ability or the right to broadcast at night. So we tape recorded them, and we did both Liberty and Dayton. And then the next morning, we played the Liberty game at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and the Dayton game followed it immediately, the tape recorded version. And great audience. You think that's silly? That's the only way they could hear it. And so kids got to hear them, us talk about them on the ball game. Their parents got to listen. Grandma got to listen. It had a really, really good audience, and we didn't have much coverage, so it was kind of interesting to watch that audience grow over the years, and it really did. And then when we went to FM, those have full-time licenses, and so we were able to do them live. One problem: I made a promise that whatever I did for Liberty, I'd do for Dayton. Whatever I did for Dayton, I'd do for Liberty. So now, who's going to be live?
Oh, this is where that ingenious split. And I know some people, it drove some people crazy.
Absolutely.
And I had to call you a couple times to ask, why can I not hear the game? And
Because you don't know how to operate.
I didn't know how to operate. I don't even think my car had the ability at one point to do that, or I wasn't smart enough to figure that out.
That's what it was.
I will agree wholeheartedly with that. But that split channel thing was
Don't open these doors
ingenious.
for me like this.
Ingenious.
Well, when I said to my engineer, wonderful engineer by the name of Larry Hudson, who was here for a long time, I said to Larry, explain to me, I think I know, but explain to me what an FM signal is, stereo FM signal is. And he said, well, it's two signals traveling through the air at the same time, and your FM radio picks it up, and it puts one channel on one side, one channel on the other, so you can hear the split channel of all the music you're listening to. And you all know that. You listen to your FM radio now, or you listen to whatever you listen to, and you hear the separation of the music. The horns are in there, and the drums are there, and all the rest. I'm saying that like I know what I'm talking about on music.
Well, we're going to smile and nod whether you know or not.
Thank you very much. And so I said, okay, it's two separate signals. He said, yeah, I want to do something that's never been done before. And I already checked on it. I knew for a fact that I had. I said, what's that? I want you to put one ball game on one channel and one ball game on the other channel. And in those days, it was every radio had a what do you call it? Balance control.
Yeah.
Couldn't even say it.
See, I didn't know how to operate it. I'm just saying.
But anyway, so all they got to do is turn the balance control, and the left speaker is going to have the Liberty game. Turn the balance control to the right speaker is going to have the Dayton games, and you get to have your choice. It was not perfect separation because you also heard some bleed over, and therein lied the crux. About 50 or 60 radio stations, no more than that, called and asked about it, and said, tell us how this works. And I said, well, look, if you're a perfectionist, if it's got to be exactly right, if you can't find any imperfections in your signal for 2 hours or 2.5 hours on Friday nights only, then hang up and go away.
Yep.
Because this is not for you. And a lot of them did. And I also explained what I'm talking about. But those of you who would love to hear two ball games at the same time and don't mind a slight imperfection, stay with me, and I've got a story to tell you. And we were able to run the split, I called it split channel sports. And we were able to do that. We did it for 14, 18 years, something like that. And we had a really, really good audience. One time I did a poll because I was always getting people bad-mouthing me because this sound, there was bleed over. And their radios bleeding over. A lot of times it was a radio's problem. But anyway, I said, I did a poll. And I ask you, please write in and tell us, do you want us to continue split channel sports, or would you rather us go back to having one game live, one game recorded, and we'll rotate back and forth who gets what? Because I was going to treat both towns fairly. And we got 144 response. That's a gross.
All right, yeah.
And 140 of them said, Bill, leave it alone. We understand its imperfections. We just want to be able to hear both Liberty and Dayton games when we doggone well please on Friday night in football. And that's the only place we ever did this split channel thing. 4 people said you were an idiot to try it anyway, but you've done a lot of things to prove you're an idiot, so there's no argument there. And get the thing off and get back to real radio. And I said, okay, 140 to 4. That's a mandate. So we kept
That's
on
a
doing
good
it.
one. All right, Mr. Bill, we're running out of time here. I'm going to need to wrap this up. You've been watching LHS Live. Don't forget to tune in Friday night, panthersports.com. That's sports with a Z, to catch us as we live broadcast Liberty versus Silsbee. We'll be on the road. We'll go on the air about 7:15 p.m. You've been watching LHS Live. We've been here with Mr. Bill Buchannan, the giant that we're standing on the shoulders of, who, because of you, a lot of this stuff that we're operating and doing right now has been made possible.
You're very kind.
Thank you for it, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for watching every Wednesday morning from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. New guests every week on relevant topics. Community-based. Student-driven. Don't forget to tune in next week for LHS Live.